Today I would like to put in the subject about mesenchymal stem cell. So I would give you some background. But before I get into the topic, the major question we are asking is, can mesenchymal stem cell lysate reverse aging? So I will give you the rationale why we use lysate from the stem cell. And this paper is already published in 2018. So if you want to see the detail, you can just go to the 2018 aging. So you use my name to Google, so you can see this paper. Okay. To understand the subject, you need to understand the background of this. The first is bone. We already covered bone in our previous lecture. Okay, and just look at here. This is the bone, right? And you can see many space. Okay, and that is what we call bone marrow, right? You see many hole inside the bone, right? And if you just look at here, this area, and you enlarge, you can see stromal cell here. Okay, you can see this stromal cell. Okay, and you can see the stromal cell are the origin of all sort of professional cell. Just look at the upper part. We call it hematopoietic stem cell. Okay, hematopoietic means blood. Okay, hematopoietic stem cell, which is the origin of a lot of cell in the blood. Just give you example, red blood cell. Okay, do you remember how many percent of the cell in human body are red blood cell? Still remember? How many, in terms of the cell number, how many cell population in human body are red blood cell? I still remember. It's in our previous lecture. 70? Yeah, that's right. So the majority of the cell in terms of the number is red blood cell, okay? And you can also see a lot of things. For example, myeloid progenitor cell, okay? Red blood cell is from myeloid progenitor cell. And you have platelet, you have a monocyte, right? Monocyte is origin of macrophage. So you already understand what macrophage is, right? And you can see neutrophil, right? So you understand the neutrophil is the phagocyte that is able to clear the unhealthy cell inside tissues, okay? And you can see natural killer cell, T lymphocyte, B lymphocytes. So you can see the whole, virtually the large part of the immune system is actually originated from bone, right? Okay. And you can also see some of the stromal stem cell are the origin of bone. Okay, bone marrow adipocyte. Okay, it's all sort of the cell. Okay, so now you understand the bone is actually very important to the tissues renewal. So we understand the fact that most of the cells in human body are short-lived, and therefore they get aged quickly. And how do you identify, how do you determine, how do you recognize who are aged, who are unhealthy, to clear the cell? It's largely based on this system. Okay, so they are very important for regenerating. Not only regenerating, before regeneration you need to clear the unhealthy cell. Okay, so at that, all this kind of mechanism is actually originated from bone. Okay. So let's go further. Okay. You see, this is the bone, right? And you can bone marrow is inside the bone. Okay. So inside the bone marrow, you have we call mesenchymal stem cell. Okay. And the mesenchymal stem cell are origin of many professional cells. For example, epithelial cell, neuron, connective stromal cell, cartilage, fat cell, bone, okay, muscle, gut, epithelial cell, lung cell, right? So when you see this diagram, you immediately realize that mesenchymal stem cells are the seed of all sort of important professional cells, right? Including bone itself, right? So that's why we used to say that because the bone marrow is inside the bone, and therefore the renewing mechanism, the size of the bone is actually reflecting whether your bone marrow system are healthy or not. Okay, and as you already see in the past, that the bone percentage and the bone mineral density are declining with age. Okay, so that is the indication of whether or not the bone marrow system are healthy. Okay, and you also see some of the data we have provided that if you have relatively lower bone percentage in your body, and that is closely related to the longevity of the entire system. Okay, for those who has higher percent bone mass tend to live longer. Okay, and for those who has relatively smaller percent bone, they are belong to the category of short-lived in animal. Okay, so in multicellular system, the bone, is very important organ to decide whether or not you are young. Okay. Just go back and remind one more thing. Okay. This is bone, and you have two kind of professional cell. One is responsible for removing unhealthy cell. Okay, you can see neutrophil, T lymphocyte, monocyte macrophage. So they are responsible to clear, to recognize unhealthy cell population in tissues, and they can clear all of them. And then you have free radical release. Okay, so when free radical release is going to attract the stem cell to move in to the tissues and developing all these cells, and therefore you can regenerate yourself. So you have two classes. One is responsible for recognition and destroy unhealthy cells, and another thing is regeneration, right? Okay. And if you look at this graph again, the mesenchymal stem cell are the origin of regeneration of all these kind of cells, right? So let me ask you the question. Removing unhealthy cell and regeneration, which one is important? Which one is more important? Clearing unhealthy cell and regeneration. You need to do the first, clearing the unhealthy cell first, right? If you don't do a good job on the first part, then the regeneration is not going to work, right? So you are building on the foundation that is not very safe, and therefore you are continuously to have a lot of unhealthy condition emerged, right? So the first part is very important, but how do you demonstrate that? Okay. So you can see that mesenchymal stem cell are the stem cell of many tissues, and they are the seed of the cell inside the tissues. So when there's any H cell inside the tissues, you clear the H cell, the stem cell will move in and develop to the certain lineage and repopulate entire tissues. Okay, so this is related to the regeneration part. And this is the detail of the mesenchymal stem cell. And you can see that mesenchymal stem cells are able to develop into osteoblast, progenitor, and regenerating bone, right? Chondrocyte, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle, brown adipose tissues, white adipose tissues. Okay, so they are originated from the same ancestor. Okay, and you can see a lot of signal here, right? You can see a lot of signal. They are going to decide where to go. So if you are as a mesenchymal stem cell, and if you want to develop into certain lineage, for example, if you want to develop into skeletal muscle, then you need to have this local signal to tell that when you graduate, you should go to this industry, okay? And that is leading by the signal here, then go to brown adipose tissues. If you have this, and you have this, and you have this, then you develop it into skeletal muscle. Okay. So you can see a lot of people are studying on what signal, what cytokine, what protein mediator are important, and the importance of this protein mediator they are determine whether the stem cell is go to certain profession. Okay? So if you understand this part, then I will go on. Okay, let's look at the bone marrow. Okay, this is the bone, right? And you can see the muscle is right next to the bone, right? So whenever you see the bone grows, you can also see the muscle grows, because they are right next to each other, and the origin of the renewing system is inside the bone. Okay, so bone get advantage immediately, and the muscle is the second one, right? Okay. And if you look at the diagram here, this is the bone, right? And this is the muscle right next to the bone. And you have two conditions. You have unloading condition. That means you don't have any mechanical stress to the muscle and bone. And you have another condition, it's called resistance exercise. So when you have mechanical stress, okay, and you understand the mechanical stress is going to increase the aging of cell and cause regeneration of the tissues, right? And what you see is the same system is going to produce different number of adipose tissues and muscle. Okay, so under unloading condition, the entire system is going to have higher fat accumulation inside the muscle. Okay, But if you are under exercise condition, the system is going to have decreasing fat accumulation. You still have some fat inside the muscle and bone, but it's just the ratio is changing. Okay, so you understand the fact that whether or not you have mechanical challenge to the system, that is going to decide those stem cells is go to the muscle or going to your fat. Okay? And why this is important? This is very important knowledge for everybody, right? And why this is important for you to understand what knowledge is involved with this. Well, many people think that the fat and muscle distribution in your body is largely depending on whether or not you have fat burning, right? But the fact is, if you have many supplements that can increase the fat burning, it's not going to change your percent fat, or what we call body composition, right? And now you understand one of the factors that is able to change whether you have more fat cell or you have more muscle cell is what? Mechanical challenge. Right? This is at tissues level. Okay, so if you want to see the detail, you can just go to this paper and the frontier endocrinology. Okay, so we already mentioned that inside the bone marrow we have two classes of large profession. Okay, first is recognize, destroy unhealthy cell. Another system is for regeneration. So let's talk about regeneration part. That is mesenchymal stem cell. Okay. In the past 30 years, there are many experiments going on about the stem cell application. We only talk about the mesenchymal stem cell, okay, here. So we don't need to talk about the embryonic, okay? Mesenchymal stem cell has high potency to differentiate into osteoblast, pontoblast, adipocyte, and myoblast. Okay? Actually, a lot more. If you look at here, then you understand. It's much more than that, right? Okay, and for the mesenchymal stem cell, there's a very important advantage, which is what we call hypoimmunogenic property. So what is hypoimmunogenic property? So if I take out my mesenchymal stem cell and I inject to your body, you will expect that because we have different genetics, right? And therefore we may get immune response, right? And this immune response is going to be detrimental for you, right? But if you have something that is able to develop for regeneration for your tissues and has no this kind of phenomena, then it's going to be very, very valuable. So you can take out your blood and regenerate my tissues, right? So we know that mesenchymal stem cell has hypoimmunogenic property, and therefore I can just find one person and take out the blood and produce a lot of mesenchymal stem cell and inject to my body, then I can regenerate my system, right? That sounds very promising. So people are very excited about this area because we found that regeneration can use mesenchymal stem cell. Okay. Let me just explain what the potency is. What is the potency mean? Potency means how powerful you are. Okay, in this condition, in this context, the potency means the stem cell are able to develop into many lineage, many professional cells, right? And if you can develop only 5 different professions, that is called low potency. Okay, if you have the stem cell are able to develop into most of the professional cells, then we call it high potency, or sometimes we call multipotent cells, multipotent stem cells. Okay. And also, let me just give you one definition about the stem cell. Okay. Stem cells are able to have a symmetric cell division. Okay, so what is a symmetric cell division mean? Okay. A symmetrical cell division. Okay, just look at here. Mesenchymal stem cells are able to develop into all these kind of professional cells. It also reproduce itself. So you can always keep keep one copy inside the tissue's location. Okay, so that is very promising because you are, as long as you have enough stem cell, then you are able to renew yourself, right? So looks like the stem cell application is, people think is the future of the medicine, and that is able to always renew yourself, right? So let's come back to the question. If you have the system that is always able to regenerate yourself in your body, then can you maintain your lifespan? Think about this. Every single cell in our body are replaceable. It's like a contact lens. You use and you can throw away. I can replace with the new one, right? It's very similar to the stem cell, right? The cell in your body get old quickly, but you can always replace with the new cell because the stem cell are able to develop and replenish your tissues, right? So it looks like life should be sustainable, right? And why we are not sustainable. So these are the questions we need to think about. Okay. Before I get into the detail, I just give you another background related to the stem cell. You want to understand that the stem cells are very sensitive to oxygen. Okay, so when you have the oxygen, the stem cell is hard to survive. So if you want to get the stem cell from your body and produce a lot of stem cell in cultural condition. You want to culture the cell. Then you don't want to have the high oxygen, right? Okay, so oxygen is actually toxic to stem cell, especially for those primitive stem cell. Primitive means, stem cell will develop, right? The most original one are more susceptible to oxygen. Okay. Another question. Do you think stem cells are able to always maintain their genetic? So stem cell is going to replicate. So you have a lot of cell division, right? And do you think all cell division would not have mutation? It's almost impossible, right? So if you produce trillion cells, then you're going to have a lot of genetic mutations going on, right? Okay, so when you have a lot of cell division, you have a more mutation, and that can cause what? Well, many cells, if they have a mutation, most of the cell they cannot survive, right? But what if the mutation site is located on the region, on the gene that is regulating growth? Then cancer can pop up, right? So we're going to have cancer, right? And sometimes we have classified that cancer can have two classes. One is we call benign, and another one is called malign, right? So you have a cancer that has been classified into two parts. You have malign cancer and you have malignant cancer. Based on what? Based on how fast you can grow after mutation, right? Okay, so think about this. Can you just do this classification? Is that accurate? Obviously, this is not very accurate, right? Because mutation is random. And if you get mutation, you have different growing potential, right? And you can have the number 1 and you have number 1,000, right? So you have all sorts of conditions, right? So sometimes we cannot, you must understand that the clinical medical classification about the cancer, malign and benign, is not the best way to classify the mutation. Okay, so in cancer area, this is also very important for you to understand that the stem cell is the origin of one of the major origin of cancer. Okay, when there's mutation. Okay, and what kind of condition is going to give you more mutation? Is when you have a lot of cell turnover, a lot of cell division going on, right? And that is the condition to make your body has more cancer cells. Okay? But the cancer cells are mostly susceptible to immune system, and therefore it's very hard to have the cancer cell to survive in a normal body. Okay? Another question to you. When you are small and when you are big, which one is going to have a more mutation?
Big.
That's right. You already see that. When you are big, you need to regenerate, right? Much more. If you have more cell number, you are going to regenerate a lot more. And that is the reason that the older people, especially when age reaching 50, is going to have more cancer risk. Okay, so that is something you can understand. And there's one promising therapy method. It's called oxygen thermotherapy. So a lot of people, because they understand that the stem cell are oxygen are the enemy of stem cell, right? And therefore, some people use thermotherapy. They put a heat pad into the site that has the tumor to get more oxygen to the local tissues. Okay, so that is one of the areas developing to reduce the cancer. Okay. Okay, let's look at what is the influence of oxygen to stem cell. Okay, so let's say if you culture the myofiber for 48 hours, and you have two conditions. One is low oxygen, and another one is the normal oxygen. You can see that the stem cell has 70% survival rate at 6% oxygen, anaerobic condition, right? If you have 20% oxygen, the survival rate down to the 31%. So that gives you direct evidence that the stem cell like to survive under an aerobic condition. Okay? And now you also want to know that the muscle and fat cell development are also determined by oxygen. Okay, so you have aerobic condition and you have anaerobic condition. Okay? Aerobic condition means the oxygen is 20%. The anaerobic condition means the oxygen is 6%. You can see under aerobic condition, there are 77 adipocytes produced. In the aerobic condition, there's 0.27 adipocytes per fiber produced. So that also gives you the idea that oxygen is going to decide how stem cell developing into muscle or fat. Okay, so this is in vitro experiment. Okay, let's go back to, so now you should understand some of the fundamental knowledge about the stem cell. Okay, so why this is important, let me just give you the idea. Okay, so you now you understand that stem cell is able to regenerate. Okay, that is very valuable. Okay, but what if you inject the stem cell into the body? What will happen? Let's say you are healthy, right? Everybody here are healthy, and I take out my mesenchymal stem cell, and I culture a lot, and then I inject those stem cells into your body. What will happen? They cannot survive, and the reason why they cannot survive is because you are healthy, right? You are well oxygenated in your tissues, right? So that means if you don't have any hypoxic condition, you find a healthy person to do allogenic transplantation, you transplant the stem cell from a healthy person into your body, it's not going to do anything because you are well oxygenated. The stem cell cannot survive in your body, right? So what is the condition that stem cell can be useful? Only when you have damage, right? So just give you one example. If I cut the wound right here, and that would immediately cause hypoxia into the local tissues because the all blood vessel has been cut off, right? And therefore you have the hypoxic condition only to the site of the damage, right? And that is the only condition you inject the stem cell. The stem cell will go to the hypoxic site and survive and repopulate into the healthy tissues. And how do you decide when to stop? When oxygen level reach normal level, right? And the stem cell cannot survive, and therefore everything is stopped, right? Okay, so this is very important background for you to understand that I understand stem cells are important for regeneration of your tissues, but for healthy person, you just inject, it's not going to do a lot, right? Okay, and that is based on many experiments, especially for the clinical experiments. An early study in heart attack, there are a lot of experiments. And now we are thinking more about whether or not if you inject the stem cell can prolong your lifespan, improve your fitness. Okay, so we ask the question. And the reason we use so the question of the study is, can lifelong stem cell lysate intervention increase longevity and preserve physical vitality in rat under normal diet? This is the question we asked before. Okay, and look at here. We use mesenchymal stem cell lysate. Why we use mesenchymal stem cell lysate? Because we understand oxygen is toxic to stem cell. So if you inject to the normal body, it's not going to work, right? And therefore, we take out the signal from the stem cell, because we understand the stem cell can also have, we call the paracrine effect. What is paracrine mean? Local signal for cell communication. Okay, so that is called paracrine effect. Okay. Okay, and that is because some of the people consider that the therapeutic benefit of mesenchymal stem cell transplantation is mediated by its paracrine, by the signal produced from stem cell. Okay, and what we use is adipocyte-derived mesenchymal stem cell. So we have adipocyte stem cell, and then we isolate the lysate from this stem cell. So that's what we have done. And then one of the reasons that we use this is because people already demonstrate that if you inject mesenchymal stem cell lysate into the animal under high-fat diet, it's going to improve the glucose tolerance. So So you understand the glucose tolerance is the condition when everybody get old. Okay? So glucose tolerance means when you have the meal, the glucose would increase, right, in your body, in your circulation, and then it start to decline. The glucose start to decline. The glucose intolerance means when you have the meal, the blood glucose get very, very high and decline very late. So that is what we call glucose intolerance. That reflects that your body have difficulty to uptake glucose into the cell. Okay? So that is one of the metabolic condition related to aging. And there are several scholars. They are actually from Taiwan in the Western Hospital. They have conducted experiment. First they use the mesenchymal stem cell. And they inject into the animal on the high-fat diet. And they see the weight gain was prevented by the stem cell injection. And also the glucose intolerance also not that serious. Okay. How about lysate? People also done lysate. It also show the same thing. And you know that the glucose intolerance is related to aging, and therefore we feel that the overweight and insulin resistance are regarded as aging complications. And therefore, if we inject the stem cell lysate, we should prevent those metabolic conditions, and therefore make the lifespan longer. So that is our hypothesis. I will show you the result later. But I also want to show you the concern about the stem cell application. You know the signal produced from the mesenchymal stem cell, they are normal signal, and they can stimulate the normal cell, but they can also stimulate mutated cell, right? So those signals are promoting growth, but they cannot distinguish whether you are mutated cell or you are normal cell, right? So if you have cell turnover a lot, and I introduce the signal in, both systems will grow, right? Just give you one example. If your government decide to inject a lot of funding for everybody, okay, in a society, who is going to get more? Do you think everybody is going to get the same amount? It's not, right? So who is going to get more? Whoever are able to grow, right? Whoever are able to get a big company and take a lot of money, right? So that's what happened in the society, right? And the rest part of the individual that is not going to get a lot, right? So you are going to have the uneven distribution of important resource. It's very similar to in human body, right? So when you have the stimulation for the growth, you don't expect that everybody get benefit. And if you have the mutation going on, the mutation is going to survive by natural selection, right? So whoever has higher growing potential, they can survive, and they're going to get more, right? So that is something that we have not. We also have the reservation whether our hypothesis is going to be true. Okay. Let's go back to the question again. Can lifelong stem cell lysate intervention increase longevity and preserve physical vitality in rat under normal diet? So this is the question. Okay, the second question is the evolution of body fat, bone, and limb mass. Do you think that would going to be different if you inject the mesenchymal stem cell lysate? And we have the DEXA, so we can measure it, right? Okay. Let's look at the method. So we have the 92 animal, okay, and randomized into two groups. One is the vehicle injected group. Vehicle means the solution to dissolve the stem cell lysate, okay? And we have the mesenchymal stem cell lysate group. Okay, so we have two groups. And when do we start to inject? It's when they are 1 year of age. 1 year of age, that means you are already adult, early middle age. Okay, then we will measure their body composition by DEXA. 19 and 27 months of age. 19 is already in the middle age and late middle age, and 27 is already quite old. Okay, so those 2 times are the time we measure the DEXA for animal. And how we deliver the mesenchymal stem cell. When they are 1 year old, we start to inject like this, abdominal injection. Okay, we call IP injection, since 12 months of the animal age until nature death. Okay, and this adipose-derived mesenchymal stem cell lysate was injected 3 times a week, 11 times for a month, and every second month. Okay, and the vehicle group inject also have the injection. It's 0.9% saline. So let's look at glucose tolerance. So how do you expect the glucose tolerance? Do you think that mesenchymal stem cell lysate is going to reduce the glucose level? And this is the answer. If you look at the glucose, from 9 months to 15 months, no difference. But insulin is different. If you look at the insulin, for the mesenchymal stem cell group, you have drop of the insulin. So that is the indication that you have higher insulin sensitivity. You don't need to have high insulin, and you are able to clear the glucose from your blood. Okay, so that is the indication that the mesenchymal stem cell lysate can improve the insulin sensitivity. Okay, slightly, not a lot. Okay, but if you look at in this expression, you can see the insulin resistance index is dropping. so you get less insulin resistant. But the glucose, you can only see slightly lower glucose. This experiment is called the insulin tolerance test. It's very easy to do. Insulin tolerance test means you inject the insulin into your body and the blood glucose is going to be dropping, right? Okay, so everybody is going to have the glucose drop. But what if I drop more? That means my body is more sensitive to insulin, right? So you can see that if you have the mesenchymal stem cell lysate injection, the blood glucose is slightly lower, but I have to say that there's no statistical significance in the graph, okay, only here. So we can say that mesenchymal stem cell lysate can slightly improve your insulin sensitivity. How about longevity? So insulin sensitivity, insulin resistance is one of the markers for aging, especially metabolic aging, right? So according to the data, you might expect that the longevity should improve, right? But if you look at the longevity data, is not as what we expected. This is the survival rate, and this is the time when the first injection is given. Okay, so over time, you can see the mesenchymal stem cell lysate, the number decrease is faster. Not a whole lot, but slightly faster. So that means if you find something that is effective to improve your insulin sensitivity, it's not a guarantee to prolong your lifespan. Okay?
So was the timing wrong? Because you time it on the decline. And you started early age.
Started early age? I don't know. That's a good question.
You mentioned if the person is on the decline, started declining, then maybe they could take insulin. So
Yes.
you started at the point.
I agree with you. So you are laying out the concept that the life can be two phases. One is the growing phase, right? And the second phase is the weight dropping, right? So insulin decline during the second phase might not be the best for your survival, right? So that is probably true. Okay, it's supported by the evidence here. So if you look at the insulin, at late age, the insulin sensitivity is better, but if you look at the insulin level is dropping, right? At late age, right? So that is probably true. Okay, if you look at the body weight, when you have the stem cell lysate injection, the body weight will drop compared to the vehicle group. So you have a weight loss, right? And we understand, according to your concept, weight loss during the growing phase is good, right? But during the late phase, unintentional weight loss at older age might not be the best, right? And this is the time before death, okay? The time before death. and you can see that the time before death is accompanied with the weight loss. So you can see for virtually most of the animals, they die after weight loss, right? This is last month, this is the second month. Regardless what group you are, the common indicator for death is weight loss, right? And this weight loss appears to be related to insulin. And this is the spontaneous movement. Okay, so we also measure the spontaneous movement because we have the device that has the camera, use the infrared camera, so you can trace the animal movement. Okay, and you can see that the standing frequency, the animal will sometimes will stand up, right? The standing frequency, no difference, but tend to be lower, right? Tend to be lower in the stem cell lysate group. And if you look at the inactive time means the animals stop there and move, stop there and move. The time between the second movement, you can see the mesenchymal stem cell lysate group has much more inactive time. So that is the indication that vitality, physical vitality is suppressed by the stem cell lysate injection. Okay, then if you look at the fat mass change, you can see the mesenchymal stem cell has more fat loss, right? Fat cell loss during the late age. Okay, remember the DEXA was 27 months, right? 27 months is old age. So when you see an old individual has faster fat loss, might not be the good sign, right? This is bone mass loss. It's much more in the mesenchymal stem cell lysate group, right? How about lean mass? It's quite interesting that the lean mass in the mesenchymal stem cell lysate group is higher, but they are shorter lived. Longevity is shorter. So what do you learn from here? What is the best body composition for your surviving fitness? Do you think body composition? We used to think that fat is bad for you, right? But for someone who are aged after certain period, in human age after 70, then it's difficult to say, right? So that's why I gave the lecture. The first lecture is the benchmarking, the optimal body composition for surviving fitness, right? So you have learned that we used to think that the body composition identical to young stage might be the best survival advantage. But from here, you also witness again from the scientific data that is really hard to say, right? So what is the major finding here? Although our data show fat loss and slightly improve the insulin resistance index in rat using long-term mesenchymal stem cell lysate treatment. There was slightly shorter average lifespan and longer active time and greater bone mass loss with relatively increased lean mass compared to the vehicle-injected counterpart, suggesting that mesenchymal stem cell lysate stimulate the tissue's disparity and finally collapse the cooperative multicellular system. But you want to pay attention that, however, this data does not preclude its value for short-term use in wound healing. Okay, so it might be useful if you are developing some cream for the wound healing locally. It might work. Okay, now I want to ask the question. What do you learn from this lecture? This is lifelong study, right? Okay, for lifelong study, we have observing two stages. The first stage is the first 2/3 of the life, when the cell number are increasing over time, right? Followed by weight loss, and that is depopulation of the cell number. The cell number get lower and lower, decrease, right? So when the cell number decrease, that means the entire cooperative system are suffered, right? Because for multicellular system, the advantage for survival is because of the cooperation among different professional cells, right? So when you have the depopulation going on, then the entire cooperative system is going to suffer, right? So that is something we don't want, especially for the certain professional cell. If they are depopulating more, then it's going to have the weight loss faster, right? And from our previous lecture, you understand that it's probably those professional that matters for survival is probably related to anabolic system, right? Just give me one example. What is the anabolic system that matters for the survival? Anabolic hormone? Just give me some example. Insulin. Good answer. What else? Estrogen, yeah, you witness that when menopause is going on, the life quality is going to suffer, right? What else? Testosterone, right? How about growth hormone? It's hard to say for growth hormone. But the most important one are the two. Insulin, sex hormone. Both are important. Okay. What else you have learned from here is that if you have the metabolic marker that measure during the first 2/3 of the life, for example, blood pressure, glucose, hyperinsulinemia, a lot of molecular marker, right? You can measure, and most of the people use this marker to say that, okay, your condition is not very good. or your condition is good, right? The people use metabolic marker or use molecular marker to say that you are in good condition or you are not in good condition, right? Do you think this knowledge are transferable for those age over 70? Obviously not, right? In this case, you understand that insulin resistance is a very important predictor for longevity, especially for those people who are on the growing phase. The body weight is increasing, and the insulin resistance marker is the indicator reflecting how fast you are growing, right? So that's why it's a very good indicator to predict longevity for someone are in the growing phase, right? But if you take out the entire lifespan and you use the insulin sensitivity marker to apply into the life stage, at the end, it's going to have a big problem, right? In this case, you see that the insulin sensitivity improved, but what happened to the longevity? Decreased. Okay? And you have fat loss, right? You have fat loss at the end of the age, right? So that's why one of the important concepts for you to understand the life, you have to divide the entire life into two stages. The first 2/3 and the last 1/3. Okay? And you don't want to use any molecular marker which is good predictor for longevity during the first 2/3 of the life, and using that to predict the last 1/3 of the life. Okay? Just very simple example. Weight gaining, is that good or bad? You gain weight, right? Okay, we have, everybody here are the same age, right? And you can see everybody are gaining weight for the next 10 years, right? And some are faster than the other, right? And you can almost correct to say that, okay, I gain more weight than you. It's not very good for myself, right? We can almost correct about that. But if you look at here, during the last period of your life, the major concern is weight loss, right? You can see that the last month of the life is going to have a lot of weight loss for both groups, right? So weight loss is good for whoever during the growing phase, but not very good for the last stage of the life. Okay. And let me just give you another thing. There are many young people also die because of the weight loss, especially for those under chemotherapy. You know chemotherapy, right? What is the mechanism of the chemotherapy? What is the mechanism? What is the foundation of the chemotherapy agent? Yes. So that is the fundamental principle to produce the chemotherapy medicine. Whatever you can stop the cell proliferation by inhibiting DNA synthesis or inhibiting the cell division, then you can slow down the tumor growth, right? So that is the foundation, right? But is that specific only to tumor? The medicine is not specific for tumor. It's non-specific for every single cell, right? So do you think the chemotherapy medicine is safe for you? Obviously not, right? It's not very safe. Especially for those short-lived cells. Okay, what is the short-lived cell? If you look at here, you see phagocytosis is required for the upper part and the red blood cell, right? These cells are short-lived, so when you are under chemotherapy, the entire system is going to be largely affected. Okay, so you cannot clear the unhealthy cell, and that causes a very fast aging. The aging is going to accelerate if you are under chemotherapy, right? Have you heard of the term chemo brain? This is neuron, right? Neuron from bone marrow cell. So if you have the chemotherapy, the brain is going to shrink, right? And the brain is going to decide whether you have a good quality of life, right? So whoever under chemotherapy is going to have the brain shrinkage, and the personality will change. It's no longer normal. Okay, so chemotherapy is very dangerous for your life. I will never do chemotherapy if I got cancer or tumor. I'm not going to do it. Oh, by the way, we have MOOC from MOOC. We have a graduate student here, graduate from here. Is teaching in Mahidol University right now. She has conducted also the lifelong experiment, and she calculate every single animal whether they have the tumor at the end of the life. Okay, you know what happened? She found that she classified all animals into 3 groups. The animal has no tumor. The animal has tumor. And the animal has the tumor spread it into 2 sides. Okay? Because every single animal has longevity, right? And guess what? Which one has the highest longevity? Tumor group. And you have two tumor groups. One is the tumor is only on one side, and another one is the tumor on 2 sides, spreading. Okay. So which one has relatively higher longevity? Spread. Okay. So if you want to run the entire life experiment, the whole life experiment, this is very important for you, and it's valuable for your life. It's, but this kind of experiment takes well above 3 years. Okay, and give you more precise answer about what you should do for your entire lifespan. And these are very important scientific contributions. The paper just published in the Cancer Medicine just accept it, and it's going to publish maybe next month. Okay.
Can I ask you about the hypoxia you mentioned?
Yes.
Is there any way to cure the cancer in the cancer condition?
Say again.
You mentioned hypoxia.
Yes.
So could we stimulate the hypoxia in the cancer, in the tumor?
In the tumor.
Yeah. Is it possible?
This is the hot topic right now, and some of the clinical data looks quite promising. So I don't have the answer right now, but I can say it looks quite positive. But it's not under, I have to say that this is not under the normal practice. Do you know why? You don't know? Okay. When you have the first chemotherapy medicine generated, right? Then you are forming a new line of the pharmaceutical industry, right? Then if I ask you a question, can chemotherapy agent cure cancer? If you look at the tumor will get small. Okay, so it looks like it can shrink the tumor. But if you look at the mortality, it's high mortality rate. Okay, so the answer is yes, the chemotherapy can shrink the tumor, but it's not good for your survival. Okay, so if you are the American Cancer Association, if you are the president of the American Cancer Association, then you are making guidelines for whether or not you want to use the chemotherapy, right? If I'm the pharmaceutical company and I'm the owner of the chemotherapy medicine, and I have already earned a lot of money, do you think I can have the influence to the medical society if I'm richer than government? You know, I just give you one example. You know the Pfizer, right? Pfizer is the pharmaceutical company. And the Pfizer's research budget is more than NIH in the United States. I was quite surprised when I was in the conference and I see, whoa, it's 1.6 times of the NIH funding in the US. Just one single pharmaceutical company. And I was very surprised. And I come back and think about the question that why cancer has no cure? If anyone get cancer, right? Can you find effective intervention to keep the survival? The answer is very clear. No, right? You have no cure for cancer at this moment. And we have a lot of drug developed, right? And we have a lot of research is in the area. But the conclusion is we cannot cure the disease. Something wrong, right? Something wrong. And that something wrong is embedded into the standard procedure made by medical society. So if you are a physician, you are curing something that is very difficult to cure, right? And the patient may sue you, right? When the patient sue you, the safest way is based on the standard procedure, which is made by the medical society, right? And if the medical society can be influenced by a big company, then the entire system will collapse and leading to ineffective treatment. So that is something we are facing. And therefore, it is very important for you to be here because you are learning something that is valuable for your own management. You're managing yourself for your own life, right? But medical doctor are a different situation. I have my brother is working for a very big company, pharmaceutical company, and I also have a friend in the pharmaceutical company. They give me the fact that 70% of the medicine produced today cannot cure that disease. Right? Can hypertension be cured? No. It's good for your survival? No. Cancer? No. Heart attack? No. Right? So you cannot find. So people are dying. Right? People are having disease and then die, right? And no cure. So that means you have to be aware that you need to judge by yourself instead of following the medical guideline. Some of the medical guidelines are good, but not all are good, especially for cancer, heart attack, hypertension. It's not good. Okay, thank you.